Have you ever noticed how the harder you chase something, the further it seems to slip away? Like trying to catch your own shadow, or grasping water with clenched fists. Today, I want to share with you an ancient Buddhist wisdom that will completely transform your approach to love, success, and happiness. It's about why you already have everything you need to attract the life you desire, and why the secret isn't in doing more, but in stopping the chase entirely. But first, let me tell you a story that changed my understanding of everything. Part 1, The Monk and the Cracked Bowl, a timeless teaching about inner wholeness. 2,000 years ago, in a quiet monastery nestled in the mountains of ancient India, there lived a young monk named Ananda. Every morning, he would carry water from the village well to fill the monastery's sacred vessels. But there was one bowl, cracked down the middle, that he always avoided. "Master," Ananda asked the elderly abbot one day, "why do we keep this broken bowl? It cannot hold water. It serves no purpose." The wise old master smiled, his eyes twinkling with gentle understanding. "Bring me that bowl, dear Ananda, and fill it with water." Confused but obedient, Ananda did as instructed. As expected, the water leaked through the crack, pooling on the ground below. "You see," Ananda said, "it's useless. Broken. We should throw it away." The master nodded slowly, then did something unexpected. He placed the cracked bowl in a beautiful garden, positioning it so the crack faced downward toward the earth. "Come back tomorrow," the master whispered. The next morning, Ananda gasped in wonder. Where the water had leaked, a small green shoot had emerged from the earth. The broken bowl hadn't failed at all, it had given life. "My dear student," the master said gently, "this bowl teaches us the greatest truth. What we think are our cracks, our wounds, our perceived imperfections, these are not barriers to love and abundance. They are the very channels through which life flows most beautifully." And in that moment, Ananda understood. He had been chasing perfection, believing he needed to fix himself before he could be worthy of peace, love, or enlightenment. But the master had shown him something revolutionary. As the Buddha taught, you yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection. Part 2, The Modern Chase, Why We Push Away What We Most Desire. Now, let me bring this ancient wisdom into our modern world. Meet Sarah, a successful marketing executive in New York City. Every dating app, every networking event, every self-improvement seminar, she was always chasing. Chasing the perfect relationship, chasing the next promotion, chasing happiness that always seemed just out of reach. Sound familiar? Sarah would stay up until 2 a.m. perfecting her dating profile, convinced that if she could just present herself perfectly, love would finally arrive. She would work 70-hour weeks, thinking that if she could just achieve more, prove herself more, then she'd finally feel worthy of success. But here's what Sarah didn't realize, and what most of us don't realize. Her very chasing was creating an energetic frequency of lack, of not enough, of desperation. Think about it. Have you ever noticed how when you desperately need something, a job, a relationship, recognition, it seems to elude you? But when you're content, when you're at peace with yourself, opportunities seem to flow toward you effortlessly. This isn't a coincidence. This is spiritual law. The Dhammapada tells us, all that we are is the result of what we have thought. When Sarah operated from a place of self-doubt, she was unconsciously broadcasting to the universe, I am not enough. I am incomplete. I need external validation to feel worthy. And the universe, in its infinite wisdom, simply reflected that belief to her. But something beautiful happened to Sarah, something that can happen to each of us. One rainy Tuesday evening, exhausted from another failed date, she sat in her apartment and asked herself a question that would change everything. What if I'm already enough? What if I've always been enough? Part 3, The Stillness Revolution, How Inner Peace Becomes Magnetic Power. In Buddhist philosophy, there's a concept called Wu Wei, often translated as effortless action or non-doing. It's not about being passive or lazy. It's about aligning so deeply with your true nature that life flows through you like a river flowing toward the ocean. Sarah discovered this principle quite by accident. Instead of frantically swiping through dating apps that evening, she did something radical. She turned off her phone. Instead of scrolling through job boards, she lit a candle and sat in silence. For the first time in months, she simply was. And in that stillness, something magical happened. The constant chatter in her mind, the voice that said, "You're not pretty enough, smart enough, successful enough," began to quiet. In that space of peace, she remembered something she had forgotten: she was already whole. As Thich Nhat Hanh beautifully expressed, thanks to impermanence, everything is possible. You see, when we chase, we operate from the vibration of lack. We're essentially telling the universe, I don't have what I need. I'm incomplete without this thing, this person, this achievement. But when we cultivate stillness, when we rest in our own completeness, we begin to vibrate at the frequency of abundance. We become like that monastery bell, not desperately calling for attention, but naturally resonating with such pure, clear sound that others are drawn to listen. Within 2 weeks of embracing this stillness practice, Sarah noticed something remarkable. A colleague she'd barely spoken to invited her to a weekend hiking group. Her upstairs neighbor, whom she'd nodded to politely for 2 years, stopped her in the hallway to chat, and turned out to be fascinating company. She wasn't doing anything different on the outside. But everything had shifted on the inside. Part 4, The Cracked Bowl Revelation, Embracing Your Wholeness Creates External Harmony. Now, here's where the story gets wonderful, and where it profoundly connects to your life. Sarah realized that all those years, she'd been trying to hide her cracks, her past heartbreaks, her moments of vulnerability, her fears and insecurities. She thought these made her less lovable, less worthy of success. But just like Ananda's cracked bowl, Sarah's wounds weren't barriers to love, they were gateways to it. When she stopped trying to present a perfect facade and started embracing her authentic self, complete with struggles, growth, and beautiful imperfections, something incredible happened. People began to connect with her on a deeper level. Her vulnerability wasn't weakness, it was magnetic authenticity. Her past struggles weren't shameful secrets, they were wisdom earned through experience. Her sensitivity wasn't too much, it was a superpower that allowed her to connect deeply with others. The Buddha reminded us, the wound is the place where the light enters you. You see, when we try to present ourselves as perfect, we unconsciously push people away. Perfection is cold, untouchable, intimidating. But authenticity, wholeness that includes both light and shadow, this is deeply attractive because it permits others to be human too. Sarah stopped posting carefully curated photos and started sharing real moments. She stopped pretending to have all the answers and began asking better questions. She stopped performing worthiness and started embodying it. And here's the beautiful part: the right opportunities, the right people, the right experiences began flowing toward her naturally. Not because she was chasing them, but because she had become ready to receive them. If this is resonating with you so far, I invite you to subscribe to the Buddha Coha channel. We dive deep into these life-changing Buddhist principles every week, helping you discover the peace and abundance that's already within you. Part 5: Self-Compassion, the inner dialogue that shapes your outer reality. Now, let me share with you the most powerful tool Sarah discovered, and the one that will transform your life most quickly. It wasn't meditation, though that helped. It wasn't affirmations, though they had their place. It was something much simpler and far more profound, changing how she spoke to herself. For years, Sarah's inner voice had been her harshest critic. Why did you say that? You sounded stupid. Of course, they didn't call back. You're not interesting enough. Everyone else has their life figured out. What's wrong with you? Sound familiar? But here's what changed everything. Sarah began treating herself the way she would treat a beloved friend who was struggling. When that critical voice arose, instead of believing it or fighting it, she would pause and respond with infinite gentleness. Oh, sweetheart, you're really hurting right now, aren't you? It's okay. You're learning. You're growing. This is what it means to be beautifully human. As the great teacher Pema Chodron teaches us, compassion is not a relationship between the healer and the wounded. It's a relationship between equals. This wasn't just positive thinking, this was a fundamental rewiring of her relationship with herself. And here's the extraordinary thing: as her inner dialogue became kinder, her outer experiences began to reflect that kindness. People started responding to her differently. Opportunities opened up. Even challenging situations felt more manageable because she was approaching them from a place of self-support rather than self-attack. You see, the universe is always listening to how you speak to yourself. That inner dialogue isn't private, it's the foundation of your energetic frequency. When you criticize yourself, you lower your vibration. When you love yourself, you raise it. And a high vibration is simply irresistible. Part 6: The Frequency of Peace, How Inner Sufficiency Attracts Abundance. Let me tell you about the day Sarah's life truly transformed. It was 6 months after she began this inner work, and she was having lunch alone at a small cafe, something she used to find painfully lonely. But on this particular day, she felt complete. Not because anything external had changed dramatically, but because she had finally stopped needing anything external to feel whole. She wasn't looking for someone to rescue her from solitude. She was enjoying her own company. She wasn't desperately networking, she was genuinely curious about people. She wasn't performing successfully, she was embodying contentment. And in that state of inner sufficiency, magic happened. A woman at the next table, overhearing Sarah's phone conversation about a project she was passionate about, introduced herself. That casual conversation led to a business partnership that doubled Sarah's income within a year. A few weeks later, at a bookstore, not hunting for romance but simply following her genuine interests, she struck up a conversation with someone who became first a friend, then a deep, lasting love. The Tao Te Ching reminds us, the sage does not attempt anything very big, and thus achieves greatness. Here's the secret that changes everything: peace isn't the absence of desires, it's the presence of trust. When you're at peace, you're not saying, "I don't want anything." You're saying, I trust that what's meant for me will find me. This trust creates a powerful frequency. It's the frequency of readiness without desperation, openness without neediness, desire without attachment. And this frequency is absolutely magnetic. When you operate from inner sufficiency, you stop repelling what you want through desperate energy. You start attracting it through the irresistible power of calm confidence. Part 7, Releasing Old Stories, How to Embody What You Seek. But here's where many people get stuck, and where Sarah almost got stuck, too. She understood the principles intellectually. She could see how peace and self-love would attract better experiences. But there was still something blocking her, old stories about who she was and what she deserved. Every time she started to feel truly confident, a voice would whisper, "Remember when you failed that presentation in college? Remember when your ex said you were too emotional? Remember when your parents said you needed to work harder to be worth loving?" These weren't just memories, they were identities she was carrying around like heavy backpacks. The breakthrough came when she realized something profound. She didn't need to fix these old stories. She needed to stop identifying with them. Sarah began a practice that I want to share with you because it's so powerful. Every morning, she would stand in front of her mirror and consciously choose who she wanted to be that day. Not based on who she had been, but on who she was becoming. Today, I choose to embody love. Today, I choose to trust my worthiness. Today, I choose to believe that good things flow to me naturally. As the Buddha taught, what we think, we become. But here's the key, she didn't just say these words, she felt them in her body. She stood differently. She breathed differently. She moved through the world as if she already was the person she desired to become. When you desire love, become love, be more loving to yourself and others. When you seek abundance, embody abundance, appreciate what you already have. When you want peace, cultivate peace, create calm in your inner world first. This isn't pretending or fake it till you make it. This is recognizing that you already contain everything you're seeking. You're just choosing to express it. Part 8, Quiet Confidence, the silent strength that commands respect. 9 months into her transformation, Sarah attended her company's annual conference. In previous years, she would have been networking frantically, trying to prove herself, seeking validation from executives and colleagues. But this year was different. She walked into that conference hall with something she'd never possessed before, quiet confidence. Not arrogance, not performance, not desperate self-promotion, just the calm, unshakable knowing of her own worth. She didn't dominate conversations, she listened deeply. She didn't oversell her accomplishments, she spoke about her work with genuine passion. She didn't chase after important people, she was fully present with whoever she was speaking with. And something remarkable happened, people sought her out. The CEO made a point to introduce himself. Colleagues who had barely noticed her before were suddenly interested in her projects. She received 3 job offers within a week, without even looking for a new position. Lao Tzu wisely said, "The best leaders are those whose existence the people are barely aware of." This is the paradox of true power. The less you need external validation, the more naturally it comes to you. The less you perform worthiness, the more others recognize it in you. The less you chase respect, the more you command it simply by being. Sarah had discovered what Buddhist teachings have known for millennia: real magnetism comes not from doing, but from being. Not from noise, but from stillness. Not from desperation, but from deep, unshakable self-love. She had stopped being a person who needed love and became a person who was love. She had stopped being someone seeking success and became someone embodying it. She had stopped chasing peace and started radiating it. And the universe couldn't help but respond to that frequency. Part 9, Your Birthright, Why You're Already Worthy of Universal Love. Now, here's the truth that I want to leave you with today, the truth that took Sarah months to fully embrace, but that you can begin accepting right now. You don't need to earn your worthiness. You don't need to perfect yourself. You don't need to achieve anything, become anything, or prove anything to be deserving of love, abundance, and peace. Your worthiness isn't based on your accomplishments. Your lovability isn't determined by your past mistakes. Your value isn't measured by external validation. You are worthy because you exist. You are lovable because you are alive. You are valuable because you are here, in this moment, breathing, being, becoming. The Buddha's final words remind us, work out your salvation with diligence. But here's what that really means, not that you need to work harder to deserve salvation, but that salvation, wholeness, peace, love, is already yours. You just need to remember it. Every cracked bowl in your life, every wound, every struggle, every moment you felt not enough, these haven't made you less worthy. They've made you more human, more real, more beautifully authentic. The universe doesn't love you despite your imperfections. The universe loves you because of your completeness, which includes your imperfections. You don't need to love yourself more to deserve good things. You need to recognize that you already deserve them and love yourself from that recognition. Stop chasing. Start trusting. Stop performing. Start being. Stop earning your worthiness. Start remembering it. The love you seek is seeking you. The peace you desire is already within you. The abundance you want is your natural state. Part 10, The Daily Practice, Living from Your Magnetic Core. Before we close, let me share with you the daily practice that kept Sarah, and can keep you, connected to this truth. Every morning, before checking her phone or diving into her day, Sarah would spend 5 minutes in what she called worthiness remembrance. She would place her hand on her heart and say, I am enough, exactly as I am right now. I don't need to chase what's meant for me. I trust that life is bringing me everything I need. My peace is magnetic. My love is attractive. My authenticity is powerful. As Thich Nhat Hanh teaches, breathing in, I calm body and mind. Breathing out, I smile. Throughout her day, whenever she felt the old patterns of chasing or self-doubt creeping in, she would pause and ask herself, what would someone who loves themselves do right now? How would someone who knows their worth respond to this? What would it look like to trust instead of chase? And then she would do that. Not perfectly, nobody does this perfectly, but consistently. With compassion for herself when she forgot, and celebration when she remembered. This isn't about becoming a different person. This is about remembering who you've always been underneath the stories, the wounds, the programming. You are already the love you seek. You are already the peace you desire. You are already the abundance you're calling in. The practice is simply clearing away everything that makes you forget this truth. Sarah's story didn't end with her personal transformation. That would have been beautiful enough. But something even more magnificent happened. As she stopped chasing and started being, as she embodied the love and peace she had been seeking, she became a source of inspiration for everyone around her. Her friends began asking what had changed. Her family noticed her calm confidence. Strangers seemed drawn to her energy. She had become living proof that you don't need to chase happiness, you can embody it. You don't need to seek love, you can be it. You don't need to find peace, you can radiate it. The Dhammapada teaches, hatred is never appeased by hatred in this world. By non-hatred alone is hatred appeased. This is a law eternal. The same is true for love. Love is never found through not loving yourself. Only through self-love can you attract the love you deserve. If this message has touched your heart, if you're ready to stop chasing and start being, I invite you to subscribe to the Buddha Coha channel and ring that notification bell. We explore these transformational teachings every week, helping you remember the magnificent being you already are. And remember, beautiful soul, you don't need to love yourself more to deserve wonderful things. You need to recognize that you already deserve them and love yourself from that place of knowing. The chase is over. Your worthiness was never in question. Your time of receiving has begun. As you go forward from this moment, carry with you the truth of the cracked bowl. Your imperfections aren't barriers to love, they're channels for it. Your struggles aren't evidence of unworthiness, they're proof of your courage. Your journey isn't about becoming enough, it's about remembering that you always have been. Stop chasing. Start trusting. Start being. Start receiving. The universe has been waiting for you to remember who you are. You are perfect as you are, and you could use a little improvement. Zen saying, and in that paradox, you find your freedom. Until we meet again on this path of awakening, may you know your worth, trust your journey, and rest in the love that you are. Namaste.